We get more now on President Trump's ultimatum to Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz or face devastating U.S. attacks that could destroy all of the country's power plants and bridges. Now, the deadline is just hours away, but Iran says it would respond with its own attacks in the region if the president follows through on his threat. So joining us now is JJ Green, national security correspondent with our news partner WTOP. JJ, as always, thank you so much for being with us.
Megan, thank you. It's good to be with you.
And first, the president set this 8 p.m. deadline for a deal. Iran has not said it is backing down, at least publicly. Where do you believe we're headed?
Well, based on what the president has said, he's issued an extinction level threat. And this is the same kind of threat you see in the movies where a lot of people die and things just kind of go dark. The world just goes away. That is the equivalent, the verbal equivalent of a meteor hitting London, New York, Washington, Tehran. Those kinds of threats are not things you can easily dismiss or even walk away from. I heard someone say earlier today that presidents don't have throwaway lines, so he has to make good on this. And it looks as though, based on what we've heard, that he may try. And in his own words, there are others who are saying he didn't mean it. But the simple fact of the matter, Megan, is when you make these kinds of threats, there's a big, big opportunity for miscalculation, for mistakes. And we know that Iran has a lot of weapons, different weapons that we know of, but there are things we may not know about. They may decide, okay, he's serious, and we need to roll these things out and use them. So there could be a very serious wide range of things that could happen tonight at 8 o'clock.
You're saying, I mean, according to this language, you're saying this is not just rhetoric. You know, my next question to you, JJ, was does the president paint himself into a corner with this extreme language? Is this deterrence? What do you make of this?
This is the way the sources that I have spoken to and the people that I know have characterized him as a person. This is the way he makes a deal. This is how he tries to coerce people into making deals. But this is not just about dollars. This is about essentially, basically, the United States military, just essentially, in the president's words, just killing a lot of people. And Iran is seemingly at this point making him either step up to that or walk away from it, because what they have happening is people actually going to some of the sites that they know are going to be targeted and becoming human shields. So the president does what he does, but there are those that are saying he may have outdone himself this time. And we will find out tonight how far he went, whether that was too far even for him or what will happen. So we'll have to wait and see. It's really hard to even imagine what might happen if Iran does not essentially capitulate. But they're saying they're not going to capitulate.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, JJ. I mean, still so much we don't know, but there is a line that has been drawn. You know, you're that national security expert. How does this stack up in the case of international law, specifically when it comes to war and civilians, because we are already seeing other international leaders speaking out on this statement?
Well, the truth of the matter is there's no way to avoid it being a war crime. And that's really what you're talking about here. People are talking about when you threaten to kill a whole civilization, which I don't think I've ever heard any leader, at least in my lifetime, say something like that, whether they meant it or whether they were joking. If you try to make good on that, there are all the things that you have to think about. All of the men, women, and children that you are going to have to kill to achieve that, the way in which you're going to do that to achieve that, and then the rationale that you're going to have to use to say, this is why I did that. All of that, according to all of the people that I've spoken to, just fits neatly into what they call a war crime. There's no way around it. People are not military targets, you know? Military targets are something else. They're inanimate objects or weapons or buildings or places, but civilization is people, okay? So it's really hard to walk away from that and try to divorce that from war crimes. And that's what I've been hearing from people today who know about this.
Yeah, and globally, if we step back and look at this bigger picture, globally, regionally, of course, JJ, from your perspective, talk to us about the risk of these escalating threats, now this very firm threat that this could possibly trigger a wider, larger scale war, pulling in adversaries and more countries, even broader than regionally what we're seeing now.
Well, thank you for that question, Megan, because perspective is really important right now. My objective is not to scare people, to alarm people, but to essentially present the facts to people so that they can make the correct decision about how they think about things. And your question is excellent. So when you look at where things stand at this point, where it seems as though we're headed from a global perspective, I think it's important for people to understand that this is a scenario where Iran recognizes what it's done. It's pressuring the president. They seem to know that he's angry. They seem to know that he may, in some people's words, may be desperate. So they're going to continue pushing that button. That's what the regime has done for the entire existence of the regime for 40 plus years, almost 50 years, is to go counter to the West and Western leadership. And they're going to try to push him into doing that. And the way they're doing it is by essentially launching a rocket here, a missile there, trying to hit a target here or there. They're not trying to engage in large-scale conventional warfare because they know they can't keep up. But what they do is they engage in asymmetric warfare, and they have threatened essentially to target their neighbors and to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed, to hit a ship here or there. And this is what they're going to do, most likely, at the very least, what we know. But they may have other weapons. We know that they have a very big global covert network of people ready to do what it is they're called on to do. But we do know that they're not going to do nothing, because being backed into a corner means they have to do something. And it most likely is going to mean attacking their neighbors. And we've heard from several of Iran's neighbors today that if that is indeed the case, then there will be a wider open war as of 8:01, if that indeed is what the U.S. does and how Iran responds to what the U.S. does. It will be a bigger war.
So much insight for us. JJ Green, national security correspondent with our news partners, WTOP. JJ, as always, thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon.
Thank you, Megan.
All right, take